In a thick wooded forest in England, Bambi strolls happily alongside his mother until she is shot by a hunter. Days pass, and Bambi grows up to start a family of his own. But tragedy strikes again when a pharmaceutical company's truck hits and kills Bambi's wife. Terrified, his offspring scatter into the forest to hide. The driver, showing no remorse, dumps toxic chemicals into the river and speeds away. Heartbroken from losing his family yet again, Bambi drinks from the poisoned river because of his thirst. The chemicals twist his body, mutating him into a monstrous form. Consumed by rage, he vows revenge on those responsible for his suffering. In the present day, Zana and her son Benji are on their way to meet her husband's family for Thanksgiving. At the last moment, Simon cancels, as he often does, disappointing Zana once more. Then Zana and Benji get inside the taxi and set off into the woods, where Simon's mother, Mary, lives in a cabin. Meanwhile, three hunters, Eddie, Tyler, and Michael, prepare their weapons. They have been hired by Wilbexer, the pharmaceutical company, to track down and eliminate the mutated Bambi, covering up the corporation's crimes. Back in the taxi, Zana notices Benji turning pale and asks the driver to pull over. Benji, sick and saddened, asks if his father is still coming to see them. Zana gently lies, telling him Simon was held up at work. As they continue their journey, Bambi appears out of nowhere and rams the car, causing it to overturn. Snarling, he circles the wreck, stomping down with terrifying force. Zana and Benji fight their way free, though the driver is killed in the chaos. Clutching each other, mother and son flee into the forest. At the cabin, Simon's brothers Joshua and Andrew are upset that Simon canceled the family dinner. As tensions rise, Andrew's wife, Harriet, steps outside to find Mary, who has wandered off again. She brings Mary back inside and reminds her son, Harrison, to watch over his grandmother, who has dementia. But Harrison shrugs it off, unconcerned. Disheveled and shaken, Zana and Benji finally reach Mary's house. Breathlessly, Zana tells the others what happened and that the taxi driver might still be alive. Joshua volunteers to head out and search for him. Meanwhile, the hunters arrive at the crash site. Among the wreckage, they find Zana's phone. Suddenly, footsteps echo nearby. Startled, Tyler opens fire and accidentally hits someone, who turns out to be Joshua. Michael is furious at Tyler's recklessness. He then orders them to drag the body to the truck. Back with Zana, she tends to Benji's wounds. He asks when his father will come, and Zana replies soon. Benji adds that his father will know what to do if he is here. Across the room, Harrison grows irritated by Mary's loud scribbling and throws a pillow at her. Zana reprimands him sharply. Shortly after, Zana steps out of the room and notices a Bambi painting hanging on the wall. Andrew joins her and explains that his mother spent weeks painting them. An hour later, Benji is scrolling on his iPad when Harrison disturbs him. Mary suddenly mutters something inaudible. Benji asks her to repeat it, but before she can, Harrison interrupts, saying that their grandma has clearly lost it. He leaves the room. Mary drifts toward the window, while Benji shuffles through her scattered drawings. Moving closer, he looks out the window and spots the Bambi. He calls out for his mom. Zana rushes in and quickly leads both of them out. Panic spreads as the rest of the group scrambles to run and hide. Harriet is discovered by the Bambi and runs into the bathroom. In desperation, she slips through the window to escape. Meanwhile, the others pile into the caravan. Andrew tries to start the engine, but it fails. They soon spot Harriet outside, still fighting the Bambi, until the creature overpowers her. Andrew twists the key again, and this time the engine roars to life. The caravan speeds down the road with the relentless Bambi in pursuit. For a time, it keeps pace, but eventually they manage to outrun it. A heavy sigh of relief fills the van. At the cabin, the hunters rummage through the wreckage of the house. They find Harriet still alive, clinging to her last moments until Michael ends her life. Back on the road, the caravan comes to a stop as a massive log blocks the path. Andrew's frustration boils over as he blames Simon for their troubles, blaming him for bringing them here simply because he could not stand a weekend alone with his kid. and now does not even bother to show up. At the back of the van, Mary calls Benji by the name Simon. He insists he is Benji and asks where Bambi is. Mary replies he is playing in the park. Then Benji spots the emergency flare and takes it. Outside, Andrew and Harrison tie the log to the van so they can drag it to the side. Zana tells Benji to wait for her signal before driving, but he hesitates. Suddenly, the Bambi appears. Zana shouts for him to drive immediately. In the chaos, Andrew's leg gets caught in the rope, and Harrison is left behind. The van speeds forward, but quickly runs out of gas. Soon after, they realize Andrew has died from his injury. Mary drifts toward the forest. Zana and Benji follow her. Meanwhile, the Bambi chooses to chase Harrison. He trips and falls, bracing for the worst, but the creature is distracted by another sound and leaves him. Catching his breath, Harrison notices a small rabbit staring up at him. Irritated, he kicks at it. Moments later, an entire pack of mutated rabbits emerges from the shadows. Harrison tries to run, but he stumbles into a bear trap. Screaming in agony, he is devoured by them. Back with Zana, she instructs Benji to stay put while she approaches Mary. But Benji lights the emergency flare, hoping to get help. Zana scolds him, but then freezes when she notices the forest floor littered with carnage. The Bambi suddenly appears, forcing them to run for their lives. At the last moment, the hunters arrive and they hitch a ride with the hunters. Zana pleads with the hunters to call the police and telling them she left her nephew and brother-in-law behind. But Michael dismisses her concerns and tells her not to worry. The group arrives at an abandoned shed. To Zana's shock, Simon steps outside, and Simon is stunned to see his family. It is revealed that Simon works for Wilbexer and has been overseeing this operation to protect himself and his company. Enraged, Zana confronts him, telling him that their son has watched his close family die, but Simon coldly defends himself. He admits he never wanted Benji here, having no interest in him. Benji overhears this, and, crushed, he runs outside. There, he spots one of the hunters carrying a caged fawn. Curious and concerned, he quietly follows them. Meanwhile, Zana, fed up, demands that Simon explain himself. He admits that he was the one who ordered the guys to dump chemicals in the forest river and adds that nothing like this has happened before. Shocked, Zana asks, "You did this before?" But Simon defends himself, saying that Wilbrick has been dumping chemicals for decades. Zana storms into the control room and grabs the phone, but Michael warns her to put it down. Then Michael explains her husband's plan, to lure out Bambi using the fawn as bait, and then kill it. Appalled, Zana rushes out of the room to get to Benji, only to find him gone. Zana rushes outside and finds the corpses of her loved ones. She runs, and Simon follows her. Back with Benji. He notices the hunters mistreating the little fawn. Then, Tyler excuses himself to pee, but instead encounters his fate. Moments later, Eddie finds him dead. Terrified, Eddie flees, only to be torn apart by the creature inside a car. In the chaos, Benji manages to free the fawn from its cage. In the control room, Michael watches the live camera footage and finds the cage gone. Furious, he decides to head there and assess the situation himself. In the shed, a furious Bambi storms in and roars at Mary. Suddenly, he hears movement and heads toward the utility closet, where a Wilbrex employee is hiding. When she sees Bambi, she fires at gas cylinders, sparking a violent explosion. In the forest, Michael appears and raises his gun at Benji, demanding him to hand over the fawn. Simon urges Benji to comply, but Benji refuses. Simon blames Zana for turning his son against him, but Benji reminds him that he heard everything Simon said about him. Then Bambi suddenly arrives and kills Michael. Instead of protecting his son, Simon bolts in fear. Zana tells Benji to stay still. She gently takes the fawn and returns it to the Bambi. But Michael, barely alive, resurfaces and shoots the creature. Before he can finish it, Mary appears and kills him. The wounded fawn cries over the dying Bambi, desperately trying to wake it. Meanwhile, Simon is caught and torn apart by the ravenous mutated rabbit in his car.